Why you feel lazy, the dopamine trap. If you wake up every morning with plans in your mind but exhaustion in your body. If you open your phone just for a minute and suddenly an hour disappears. If you feel guilty for not working, yet strangely unable to start. Please understand something important. You are not weak, broken, or lazy. You are overstimulated. In today's world, your brain is constantly flooded with effortless pleasure, social media, short videos, sugar, entertainment, novelty, and endless information. Each one releases dopamine, the chemical that controls motivation, desire, and focus. But when dopamine is triggered too frequently and too easily, the brain begins to lose its natural drive for real achievement. Neuroscientist Dr. Andrew Huberman explains that dopamine is not what makes us feel good, it is what makes us want to do things. And when that system is hijacked by cheap rewards, the mind quietly loses its hunger for effort, learning, growth, and success. That is why so many intelligent, ambitious people today feel tired, distracted, unmotivated, and stuck. They do not lack potential. They suffer from a dopamine imbalance. In this video, we will walk calmly and carefully through Andrew Huberman's 7-day dopamine reset, a scientifically grounded method to remove mental fog, eliminate procrastination, and restore your natural motivation. This is not about willpower, punishment, or extreme discipline. It is about allowing your brain to heal and rebalance itself. Over the next few minutes, you will learn how to step out of the trap of instant pleasure and return to a state where focus feels natural, work feels meaningful, and progress feels rewarding. If you are sincerely seeking clarity, purpose, and momentum in your life, then you are in the right place. Why you feel lazy, the dopamine trap. Before we speak about discipline, productivity, or habits, we must first understand something far more important: the chemistry of your brain. What you call laziness is not a flaw in your character. It is a signal from a nervous system that has been overwhelmed by stimulation. Every time you scroll through social media, watch short videos, eat sugary food, or consume digital entertainment, your brain releases dopamine. Dopamine is not the pleasure chemical, as many believe. According to neuroscientist Andrew Huberman, dopamine is the chemical of pursuit. It is what makes you feel driven, curious, focused, and motivated to move toward goals. The problem begins when dopamine is released too easily and too often. When pleasure requires no effort, the brain learns that meaning no longer matters. This is exactly what psychiatrist Dr. Anna Lemke explains in her book Dopaminenation. When dopamine spikes repeatedly, the brain compensates by lowering your baseline level of motivation. You begin to feel flat, bored, restless, and dissatisfied, even when nothing is technically wrong. This is why people today can have comfort, freedom, and opportunity, yet feel deeply unmotivated. Their nervous system has been trained to expect constant reward without work. As a result, anything that requires effort, studying, working, exercising, or building a future, feels heavy and unpleasant. Your brain is not broken. It has simply been trained by an environment that rewards distraction more than focus. What you are experiencing is not laziness. It is dopamine exhaustion. Once you understand this, something powerful happens. You stop blaming yourself, and you begin correcting the system. That is where true transformation begins. The law of dopamine, expanded version to change your life. You do not need more motivation. You need to understand how motivation actually works inside the brain. Andrew Huberman explains a simple but profound rule. Dopamine rises in anticipation of reward, not in the reward itself. In other words, dopamine is released when you are moving towards something meaningful. It is what gives you the feeling of excitement, drive, and inner fire before an achievement, not after it. The problem in modern life is that technology gives us reward without pursuit. Social media, video streaming, pornography, fast food, and endless novelty all deliver massive dopamine spikes with almost no effort. Your brain receives the chemical signal that normally belongs to winning, building, or achieving, but you did nothing to earn it. Over time, the brain adapts. Just like any system that is overstimulated, it protects itself by lowering sensitivity. The result is that your baseline dopamine drops. When this happens, ordinary activities begin to feel dull. Reading, studying, working, or even having meaningful conversations no longer stimulate the brain enough to feel rewarding. This creates a dangerous cycle. You feel bored or unmotivated, so you reach for more stimulation. That stimulation provides short relief but pushes your baseline even lower. Eventually, nothing feels satisfying except extreme or constant distraction. Huberman refers to this as a dopamine imbalance, and it is one of the main causes of procrastination, addiction, anxiety, and emotional flatness in modern society. The law of dopamine is simple: the higher and faster the spike, the deeper the crash afterward. Slow earned dopamine, from effort, learning, and progress, builds long-term motivation. Fast dopamine, from screens, sugar, and novelty, destroys it. Once you understand this law, you stop chasing pleasure and start protecting your mind. This awareness is the foundation of the 7-day dopamine reset that we will now begin to explore. The 7-day dopamine reset rules. Now that you understand how dopamine works, the next step is to gently but firmly interrupt the cycle that has been draining your motivation. Andrew Huberman's 7-day dopamine reset is not a punishment or a test of willpower. It is a short period of neurological recovery, a chance for your brain to remember how to feel motivated again. For 7 days, you temporarily remove the strongest sources of artificial dopamine. These are not bad things in moderation, but when consumed constantly, they overwhelm the reward system. During this reset, 5 rules become your foundation. First, no social media. Platforms are designed to provide endless novelty, which creates repeated dopamine spikes. Even brief scrolling keeps the brain in a state of craving. Second, no pornography or explicit content. These are some of the highest dopamine triggers available and have a powerful numbing effect on motivation and attention. Third, no junk food, sugar, or ultra-processed snacks. These foods stimulate dopamine in the same way addictive substances do, making real satisfaction harder to feel. Fourth, no video games or fast digital entertainment. These provide reward without effort, teaching the brain to avoid real-world challenges. Fifth, no mindless streaming or background content. Silence and simplicity are essential for resetting the nervous system. What is allowed during these 7 days is simple: grounding activity, walking, light exercise, reading, writing, learning, cooking, sunlight, conversation, and focused work. You may use your phone only for practical communication or purposeful learning. At first, this will feel uncomfortable. That discomfort is not failure, it is healing. Boredom is the signal that your brain is recalibrating. By giving yourself this space, you allow dopamine levels to return to a healthy baseline, where effort once again feels meaningful and rewarding. What happens during the 7 days when you begin a dopamine reset? It is important to understand what you are feeling so that you do not mistake healing for failure. Your brain has grown accustomed to constant stimulation, so when that stimulation is removed, it reacts much like any system withdrawing from overload. During the first 1 or 2 days, you may feel restless, irritable, or uneasy. You might find yourself reaching for your phone out of habit, even when there is nothing you truly want to see. This is not weakness, it is the nervous system noticing the absence of easy dopamine. Andrew Huberman explains that this stage reflects the brain's expectation of reward, even when no reward is present. Around days 3 and 4, many people experience a sense of emptiness. Things that once distracted you no longer exist, and the mind feels quiet in a way that can seem uncomfortable. This is the phase Dr. Anna Lemke describes as the dopamine baseline rising again. The brain is recalibrating its sensitivity to reward. By days 5 and 6, something subtle begins to change. You may notice that small things feel more interesting. You may feel a desire to move organize, read, or think. This is motivation returning naturally, without force. On day 7, clarity often becomes noticeable. Focus improves. You feel more present in your body and more engaged with your surroundings. Tasks that once felt heavy begin to feel lighter. This is not because life became easier, it is because your reward system is no longer numb. This is the purpose of the reset. You are not depriving yourself. You are restoring the brain's ability to feel satisfaction from effort, progress, and real experience. How to use dopamine properly after the reset. Completing a dopamine reset is not the end of the journey, it is the beginning of a healthier relationship with motivation. The goal is not to eliminate pleasure from your life, but to place it in the correct order. Andrew Huberman teaches that dopamine should be a result of effort, not a substitute for it. When you reward yourself before you have done meaningful work, the brain learns that achievement is optional. This is why so many people struggle with consistency. They receive the chemical signal of success before they have actually created anything. Over time, this weakens drive. James Clear explains this clearly in Atomic Habits. Behaviors that are immediately rewarding are repeated, while behaviors that feel unrewarding are avoided. If scrolling, sugar, and entertainment come before work, the brain will always choose them. But when effort comes first and reward comes later, motivation strengthens. After your reset, structure your day so that the hardest and most important tasks come first. Do your deep work, your studying, your exercise, or your creative output before checking messages, watching videos, or relaxing. Even small wins, finishing a page, completing a workout, writing a paragraph, should come before pleasure. This trains your dopamine system to associate satisfaction with progress rather than distraction. Over time, effort itself begins to feel good. Focus becomes easier. Procrastination weakens. This is not about living a joyless life. It is about allowing joy to be earned in a way that builds strength instead of destroying it. When dopamine follows discipline, motivation becomes stable, reliable, and deeply rooted in who you are. The long-term anti-laziness system. A dopamine reset restores your motivation, but what sustains it is the way you live afterward. Long-term energy, focus, and drive come from aligning your daily habits with how the brain is designed to function. Andrew Huberman emphasizes that your nervous system thrives on rhythm, light, movement, and challenge, not constant stimulation. Begin each day by exposing your eyes to natural sunlight. This simple act sets your circadian rhythm and regulates dopamine and cortisol, giving you a stable sense of alertness and motivation. Follow this with movement, even if it is just a short walk or light stretching. Physical activity signals to the brain that you are active and engaged with life, which boosts dopamine naturally. Next, dedicate at least one uninterrupted block of time to deep, meaningful work. Cal Newport refers to this as deep work, focused effort without distraction. When you work this way, the brain releases dopamine slowly and sustainably, reinforcing your ability to concentrate and create. Delay all pleasure until this work is complete. This one principle keeps your motivation intact. When rest and entertainment come after effort, the brain learns to crave productivity rather than avoidance. Sleep is equally important. Poor sleep reduces dopamine receptors, making you feel lazy no matter how disciplined you try to be. Protect your bedtime and avoid screens late at night. Finally, seek challenge. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi's research on flow shows that humans are happiest and most motivated when they are slightly stretched beyond their comfort zone. Growth itself becomes rewarding. This is how laziness disappears, not through force, but through a lifestyle that continuously supports a healthy, driven, and focused mind. As we come to the end of this journey, I would like to gently remind you of something very important. You were never meant to live in a constant state of distraction, exhaustion, and inner conflict. Your mind was designed for focus. Your nervous system was designed for growth. And your dopamine system was designed to reward effort, curiosity, and progress. If you have felt stuck, unmotivated, or behind in life, please understand that this does not mean you are incapable. It simply means your brain has been pulled out of balance by a world that offers too much pleasure for too little effort. By learning how dopamine works and by giving yourself the space to reset, you are choosing to return to a more natural, powerful version of yourself. The 7-day reset you learned today is not about suffering or deprivation. It is about clarity. It is about remembering what it feels like to be present, to care deeply, and to move forward with purpose. Even small changes in how you use your time, your phone, and your attention can completely transform how you experience life. If this video helped you understand yourself a little better, I sincerely thank you for spending this time here. Please consider sharing this message with a friend or family member who may be struggling with motivation or distraction. You never know whose life might quietly change because of something you passed along. And if you would like to continue learning about focus, discipline, neuroscience, and personal growth, I kindly invite you to subscribe to this channel. New videos are created to support you on your journey toward a clearer, calmer, and more purposeful life. Thank you for being here, and I wish you strength and clarity as you take your next step forward.